Should the Royals be pushing their climate agenda? I'm joined now by royal commentator Caroline Aston. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Now, first of all, Caroline, what do you make of what the Queen had to say? It was difficult to hear, let's be fair.
Almost impossible to hear. But the thing about the Queen is she doesn't usually say that much. So when she does, or she's caught maybe off guard like this, every word is forensically examined, stripped down, every punctuation mark to see if she's actually doing the thing she's not supposed to do, which is to make anything political a comment. Myself, I think she was expressing probably what a lot of us think, that a lot of global warming is down to the hot air generated by people who, yes, talk, but don't actually do anything. And certainly my old mother used to say, talk is cheap. It's the doing that makes the difference. And I think that was the point. And she obviously seemed irritated that the guest list remained, shall we say, hazy, to say the very least, with some big names. Big polluters are seemingly not going to be there. And she just happened to be remarking about it. And all I can say is good for her. And doesn't she look good in pink?
She does, doesn't she? I mean, I used to go out with somebody like that. I would say a lot, never to do anything. But you know, those sort of people are really irritating. Thing is, if I was the Queen, I'd be tempted to sort of talk under my breath like that and say things that, you know, just for fun. But we all know that, you know, there's so many different members of the royals who are supposed to be impartial, but they're all speaking up. What's been the reaction to Prince William? He weighed in on the whole sort of commercial space flight business.
Well, again, I would say he was voicing something that a lot of people think. I mean, it was wonderful that Captain Kirk finally got to boldly go where in reality he'd never been in his life, and he had to be 90 to do it, in that amazing phallic-shaped rocket. The pictures of that are quite amazing. But I think the point Prince William is making here is that we don't want some kind of war between billionaires about who's going to do what first. But maybe, just maybe, more investment in putting right what's wrong with where we're actually living is the thing to do, rather than go zooming off to find somewhere else to, I think William Shatner said, somewhere else where we can eventually produce things that won't pollute our planet. In other words, we can ship pollution out to another world and live happily in our own rather cleaner one. Now, there's an interesting thought.
Well, I'm going to bring in the panel because I want to find out what they think about this. I mean, Caroline, I think you make some very salient points. I'm going to have to start and ask Calvin what he makes of, you know, because Caroline and the Queen and also what Prince William said. Are they right?
I think the Queen's right in that we're fed up of people talking the talk and not walking the walk, absolutely. But what I don't want to see is the monarchy getting political. Prince Charles has already said way too much on climate change as it is. We know where he stands on the green agenda. We know where he stands on WEF and Davos and all of that too. And he's going to be the next sovereign of this nation, so I don't want to know his political opinions because it's inappropriate.
Do you think, Leo, you think it's inappropriate for him to be speaking? And
yeah, it's inappropriate. It's slightly hypocritical to hear from people who live in actual palaces that we should be caring more about climate change. I mean, I've got a spare room in my flat. Like the Queen or Prince William, they're welcome to move in. It's insulated. I'm sure it burns less fuel than Buckingham Palace. I mean, at least downgrade to maybe just one palace. You know, I think the royals are great. They do a fantastic job at being on money and opening supermarkets and stuff. But maybe when it comes to stuff like this, they could lead by example. Get the train instead of taking a private jet. Like live in a well-insulated new build flat. Ride a horse instead of driving a Range Rover. There's a variety of things they could do.
They do take a train instead of the plane, and they do ride horses.
Exactly.
It's important that they live in palaces.
Yeah, they ride horses for fun, and the Queen, not to get to work.
Well, no, Caroline, what were you saying?
I was saying that the Queen is green. Over the years, she's taken a lot of trouble to ensure, for example, that LED bulbs are used. She's cut back on the way power is used in her palaces. And actually, only 2 houses actually belong to her. Balmoral, Sandringham. The other palaces belong to the state. And I'd be quite with you there. And I think there are plans that maybe one day Buckingham Palace will be an office block, nothing more than that, to run the monarchy's business from. Prince Charles, I would agree with you. He's become far too political. over the years. He's written letters to people when he should have kept quiet, and there are those of us who think he'd have done better just keep on having conversations with his begonias. And of course, you're right. The trouble is, he is the next monarch. Is he going to carry on dropping word bombs? But then, of course, his own son has been doing quite a lot of that.
Well, he has, yes. But then there is the point that you did make that, look, thank goodness somebody's actually speaking up in a way that could be effective. The Queen saying that she's sick and tired of them just talking about things and not doing anything. That's a good...
Well, yes, and of course... I mean, I was going to say, she's done this in the past. Back in 2014, when the Scottish referendum was happening, if you remember, she just said one sentence, people should think carefully. But because she's the Queen, a focal figure, those words are analysed. And I sometimes think when she's caught like this that perhaps we add a little bit too much weight. She's irritated. She's a common sense woman. And I think that's the point she was making. She does still ride a horse. She does do her bit at the level she operates at. And don't forget, Prince Philip, although being a national treasure who sometimes opened his mouth and put his foot in it, was very, very keen indeed on keeping the planet in good shape and green issues. They're not just speaking here. They really do feel it.
Well, listen, Caroline, thank you so much for your thoughts. That's Caroline Aston with her thoughts on the Queen's comments and also Prince William's comments as well. I'm going to ask the panel then. I mean, look, I think Caroline's onto something here. The Queen spoke because she said what we're all thinking. Even though she has a palace and she's got a couple of horses and some corgis and things, she did actually make a salient point. They are talking a load of hot air.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, I quite like that these conferences, they all get together, they all jet in, they all avoid any COVID regulations, they all talk and have lunch, and nothing gets done, because I don't really want anything to get done. You know, I don't really see climate change as a problem. I'm from Scotland. The climate in Scotland needs to change. It would be a positive thing for Scotland. And, like, for Caroline to say, I mean, I think Caroline's great, she's very funny, but does she really think the Queen's got a smaller carbon footprint than your average person? I mean,
the Queen isn't your average person.
The Queen's not your average person. You can't compare.
Why is she telling people? It's like
she's right though.
It's like me telling people you shouldn't.
She's not telling people.
But she's right though.
Which she's never heard in a private conversation. She's not telling us what to do, and I like that.